What's good? My name is Cameron, and I have a red beard. I also have a degree in visual effects, but that's not important. Lately, after graduating, I've worked on some personal projects here and there to try and sharpen my skills in visual effects and 3D animation, but these projects take too long to create for the amount of work that I usually put in. So, as I was laying in bed, contemplating my life choices, as I usually do, I wondered what I could do, what I could use to create something entertaining in a short amount of time to add to my demo reel. Then, it hit me. As a character from one of my favorite anime ever once said, I'll use everything. So, I decided to create the iconic scene of Gon from Hunter x Hunter using every ounce of his power in his fight against Pito using all the tools at my disposal within 48 hours. For this project, I used Ember Gem for the smoke simulations, Character Creator 3 to create the character model and rig, and Blender for literally everything else. So, I got to work. Before I explain my process, consider subscribing if you like what you see. Also, follow me on Twitch to watch my process live. We'd love to have you. The first thing I did was create the character to match the proportions of adult Gon. I modeled the character in Character Creator 3, a powerful but relatively expensive piece of software that allows you to create detailed models of realistic characters. Obviously, I made him jacked as hell, adjusted the face proportions, and then exported the character without any hair, because they don't have any presets for hair that's 5 meters long. I would have loved to create this model in the original anime style, but Character Creator is more known for realistic character portraits, so in order to make characters that fit in the original style, I would have to create the characters from scratch, which I didn't have time for within the 48-hour time frame. After that, I exported the character and brought it into the software that I'll be creating pretty much everything else in, Blender. Before I start the animation process, I used a paid plugin called Quick Auto Rig to give my character the animation tools needed in order to properly animate him. I could have animated him with the default skeleton visible when I imported the character, but using this plugin saved me a huge headache in the long run. Quick tip, when animating a character that isn't interacting with anything in the environment, always animate his arms in FK instead of IK. From there, while using a pre-recorded video of myself doing the physical moveset and choreography as a reference, I started to animate the character bit by bit. Most people begin by going pose by pose, but I usually like to animate sequentially, since each bit of the sequence has to blend into the other. After I finished the basic animation, I selected the limbs that would be considered less grounded, like his arms, neck, and torso, and I added a noise modifier to the rotation of each bone. Then, once applied on top of the animation using the nonlinear animation window, it gives the animation a much more natural look in my opinion. This is also when I start to experiment with the camera and cinematography. I wanted the camera to slowly dolly in as it rolls to the side, to mimic visually stunning movies like RRR. And if you haven't seen this Indian epic yet, do it now, please. From there, I started to work on the hair. For this element, I used Blender's particle system, and then I weight painted his scalp because that would have been the only part of his head that would have hair emitting from it. If my computer was more powerful, I would have been able to process individual hairs on his head, but to save processing power and time with baking, I decided to use hair children instead, which limits the variety of movement with his hair, but also saves quite a bit on processing power. After the hair, I opened up Ember Gem to start both of the smoke sims that I planned on using. I made a basic smoke sim that twisted upwards for the first, but then exported a sphere that I attached to Gon's hand as an alembic, which is basically an exported animation that keeps the movement of the object exported, and then used that file to be the source of the next smoke sim. After exporting both sims as VBDs, I brought them both back into Blender and then lit them with different light sources to make them appear as if they were emitting light. For the clothes that he wears, I wanted to use a cloth sim for his tank top and shorts, but after hours of work the physics still weren't looking right, so I decided to just retexture the skin around that area as the clothes because it's so tight on his skin already. This saved quite a bit of time. For the trees around him, I started by modeling a basic tree with a cylinder and then created branches much in the same way, and then I joined them together as one object. For the leaves, I found some great leaf textures on megascans.com, and then I cut each leaf out individually and moved each anchor point to the base of the leaf. I wanted to use a particle system to spawn the leaves on the tree, but I found out that when I spawned more trees using geometry nodes, the leaves disappeared from the other trees. So I instead spawned the leaves in using geometry nodes as well. If I were to do this project or something similar again, I would go about this step a little differently. I would spawn the branches off of the tree with geometry nodes as well, so that the leaves only come off of those parts of the tree. Right now the leaves spawn on all parts of the tree, which looks a bit odd, but I didn't really have time to mess with it further. I will definitely use a different process when I create trees in the future. From there, I exported a simple fast render in the engine Eevee so that I could work on the compositing as quickly as I could with the time that I had. I added a lens flare for the fist, a swirl effect using the polar coordinates effect on a fractal noise layer, and then applied a luma matte onto the same footage with a radial blur applied. Once I put an effectless version behind both of the effects, the compositing is finally done. Then it's time for hours and hours amounting to multiple days of rendering for the final product. Well, what did you think? Obviously it's not perfect, but I'm very proud of what I was able to accomplish in such a short time frame. If you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments below of something that I could create in the future. Don't forget to like and share this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel and my Twitch, and I'll see you next time.